If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park.
Saturdays are for the boys and Mondays are for short track racing with Elite Performance Industries as we begin this new journey with EPI and take you all across the country through 3 different series of short track racing throughout the course of this season. We've already completed the dirt portion. We were initially planning on doing the full season of dirt racing, then we said let's mix it up, let's make this a bit more exciting, let's debut EPI Short Track Mondays, and let's go racing this evening at the Paperclip Martinsville Speedway in the virtual Ridgeway, Virginia with Legends cars, something that's a little bit new, I think, to a lot of drivers. It's a big racetrack and tiny little cars that fly off into these tight corners. It's going to be fun this evening. Welcome to Pit Stop TV. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. I've got Zach Murtis alongside as, well, we have to have this guy. If we're going legend car racing here on Pit Stop TV, we certainly cannot have a legend car race without Zach Murtis. And Zach, welcome to Martinsville Speedway. I'm excited.
Happy to be here. Happy to see some great racing at Martinsville and some legend cars. Definitely an unorthodox track for these legend cars. Usually when you see them running around the Carolinas, Virginia, maybe Tennessee, you don't really see them running over anything, maybe a third or a quarter of a mile. You're on a big half-mile paperclip tonight. 4 amazing corners at Martinsville Speedway. You've got concrete layered down in the first 2 lanes on the bottom and then asphalt up on the top. It's definitely an unorthodox track, and one that NASCAR loves to favor when you come to short track racing. And honestly, it's going to be interesting to see how these legend cars rip around here. You're not going to see them braking probably a ton. There's going to be a lot of roll speed, getting on the throttle pretty early on exit, and going to be flying down these straightaways. I expect to see these legend cars running somewhere around 4th gear, maybe 5th if we're lucky.
I recall when Hickory was added to Legend Cars a couple of years ago in X, as far as a track that could be run by Legend Cars again, and I know that was a big deal, going to a track as big as Hickory Motor Speedway at about 3/8 of a mile. This is quite a ways past that, another 1/8 of a mile. This is a big racetrack for these little Legend Cars. Let's quickly take a look at our point standings coming into this evening for the Advanced Legends Cup. And boy, this is a nice kind of throwback back to some names we covered a couple of seasons ago over the winter, and you can see Daniel Folds with the points lead by only 8 over Dustin Monburquette from Elite Performance Industries, powered by the shop. And Zach, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, I think, over these next 4 weeks, to watch those two specifically probably go back and forth in the point standings. Although Dustin is not in this session, neither is Tyler Payne. So interesting, we come back in, no Dustin Monburquette, no Tyler Payne, but we do have Daniel Folds, we have Jeremy Swenson, that should be Swenson, not Swan, no, it is Swanson, Jeremy Swanson, Blake Massengill. We have multiple of these names toward the top, but we don't have Dustin Monburquette or Tyler Payne. I don't even see Joel Smith in this session, which is making things very, very interesting coming into this 5th round of the season. Let's take a look as well at the schedule and see what stands out to you here, Zach.
Honestly, we're a bit of the ways in up here on Martinsville, week 5. We got Southern National next week. That's a track that Legend Cars favor heavily. Five Flags, not really a track you see Legend Cars run too much, but Hickory, Myrtle Beach definitely had Legend Car racing. Hickory still does, and Myrtle Beach obviously not with us anymore, as well as Lakeland. That's not with us anymore, but Lanier and South Boston, they have Legends Racing. Actually, I do not know if South Boston has Legend Racing.
I don't think so.
I've never seen Legend Cars race in South Boston. But, you know, it's definitely an interesting schedule. South Boston is one of the great tracks for Legend Cars on the surface, in my opinion. I've run there quite a few times and racked up a couple of wins. Myrtle Beach and Hickory are some great tracks to run as well. I'd love to see them soon. But as these cars start to roll off, some of the names you did mention in the points, Tyler Payne, it's nice to see him up there, especially when you don't have drivers like Parker Retzlaff and Alex McCullum in here. But drivers like Alex McCullum and Joel Smith, they're out there at Charlotte Motor Speedway practicing for tomorrow's round 7 of the Summer Shootout. So obviously you're not going to see them here tonight.
Let's take a look at our starting lineup this evening as we go back Legend Racing on Pits.tv. Oh, that's a good thing to say. Daniel Folds leads us to the green this evening in car number 1. Blake Massengill will start from 2nd. Starting from 3rd, it's Michael Folds in car number 6. Riley Fiddler-Hadsback will start from the 4th position. Starting 5th, it'll be DJ Powell. 6th is Jeremy Swanson. 7th will be Matthew Boniface on the grid, and then Eric Steele will grid up for 8th rather, but not in the pacing field. Kyle Meyer starts from 9th this evening. To round out your top 10, it's Ronald Klein Jr. To quickly go through the next 8, Tim Sturm, Dylan Sanchez, Nate Devone, Angel Ortega, John Evans, Howard Bentley, William Gray, and Joseph Przybylski. The entire 18-car field. We're ready to go racing for 35 laps at the Paperclip with Legend Cars this evening. We are green for EPI Short Track Mondays. And a caution. Well, that takes the wind out of our sails a bit quickly.
Just a little bit. I believe there might have been a spin right there on the start that brought the yellow out, but honestly, I'm not sure. All the cars seem to be rolling. We got one car rolling out of pit road. That is the 32. See the 15. I believe that's Przybylski.
The 15. Well, I just saw the car that spun. It was John Evans from Zeem Setup Shop. A little bit of a loop there on a turn 4. The 15 is William Gray that we saw for just a moment. Let's take a look at this for the number 12 car. John Evans, or Evans, I'm not sure.
Just clipped the apron right there on the rumble strips, and it hooked that car around.
And it looks like he got the famous Martinsville curb. I know there's a very famous Martinsville hot dog. This is a different kind of sausage. Unfortunately, getting John Evans on lap number 0, if you will. Here's a look at it. Yeah, he right just clipped it.
Doesn't take much for these Legend cars to get unstable, and he just clipped it, went right around. Honestly, what it looked like he was trying to do was cut that car so he could have a good exit off the corner and be able to restart pretty well, but obviously it didn't exactly turn out the best for him.
Well, there's a bunch of Zeem's cars at the front, particularly that oh-so-potent duo from a couple of seasons ago, Zach. Daniel Folds, Blake Massengill. Good to see these guys back on the track this evening, but they are going to have, I think, a bit of a stranglehold on this race. How do you try and upset that? Of course, Michael Folds won't be able to. Maybe Riley Fiddler-Hadsback, potentially, from that 4th spot. Do you think he can get in there and mess with any of that?
It's definitely going to be interesting. One thing with these Legend cars is you want to roll that bottom. It's very, very tough to pass on the outside. As we see the 15 of Przybylski exiting pit road.
That is William Gray.
Oh, that's William Gray. Oh, well, I saw 2 yellow cars, so I assumed that was Przybylski for a second. My mistake, ladies and gentlemen. But as for these cars rolling around here, the best way to go is just the bottom. That's short track racing for you. Bottom line's the fastest. However, you definitely need to be able to see what your options are rolling through the rest of the race. You've got 35 laps, which is actually more than we were both expecting. You said 25, I was assuming 30. It's a long race for legend cars. So you just need to find your rhythm, do what you can, and if you settle into your rhythm pretty quickly, you might be able to have a chance to upset them.
It's an especially long race for legend cars when you have a caution on lap number 1, and you see there William Gray rolling through the pit lane and right back onto the racetrack. Not sure what the strategy is for him, but the field should get the 1-to-go signal this time by the flag stand. And the iRacing.com safety car lights should be turned off, and yes, they have been shut off atop that iRacing.com safety car. So we'll finally get to go racing. I know it's been kind of a slow start. Not a whole lot happening, of course. When you have a car looping out of turn 4 and you have this long of a caution. But we are ready to get back racing. If we go back and look at the schedule briefly, I just want to say we are covering Martinsville, Southern National, Five Flags, and Hickory. And now, even more concern as to what is happening. Folds just launched from the field and then checked up. He's got 10 car lengths on the field right now, and we've just gotten green. I think we finally just did go green. That was very bizarre, but we have gone green flag racing. Single file restart apparently.
I know exactly what happened. This is the iRacing glitch that sometimes happens when the green flag comes out and then somebody spins before they take the green flag. iRacing has a glitch in the system, and it shows anyone who didn't cross the line a lap down. Therefore, all have to pass the pace car to take the free pass, which ends up creating a situation where everybody gets single file because all the lap cars have to line up single file.
Well, regardless, we're back racing at the very least, and that's a good thing as Blake Massengill puts some pressure here on Daniel Folds. And already, these legend cars are really looking fun around Martinsville. This is a fast track for them, especially down into the corners. Speeds over 100 miles per hour. That is fast for a little Legends car, but this looks like a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and you can see them fighting back there for the top 5 as we focus on this top 3. Massengale and Folds just bumper to bumper, and here's the battle for, I believe, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. As they are just single file, we got one look to the inside. That is for 5th, Powell and Boniface. Boniface is easily going to take it, and Powell is just going to keep on dropping. He's going to lose about 2 spots from that, as you see them single file back out. And they're just trying to settle into their rhythm now and see what they can do to move these cars forward, as Boniface is now looking up the inside for 3rd.
That moves Kyle Meyer up as well, and yes, that is for 4th position on Jeremy Swanson. There they go to the inside of the RKM number 91. So Swanson up the racetrack. Kyle Meyer will take advantage of that hole opened up by Paine-Built Legends driver Matthew Boniface, and Michael Folds goes purple. They're on lap number 10, and one car up the racetrack. That was DJ Powell spinning out of turn 2. And right up into traffic, they smash into the wall to avoid him. One car can't do it. That was Howard Bentley crashing into the stopped DJ Powell machine. And a caution will fly for the 2nd time this evening. Lots of damage to DJ Powell's car after that.
See that left rear is just bent forward. Very much towed out on the rear. Take a look at what happened here.
In this angle especially. From this angle especially be a lot of fun. Watch this as cars come flying by. He rolls back and then gets hit right there. And Zach, that is the #1 reason why you need to hold your brakes after a spin.
It was my first thought. Just see him bobble and go up the racetrack, and then he just loops it right here. Could have kept it on the bottom. A little bit of net code on a couple of drivers, putting him in the wall, and then boom! Right there, the 14 nails him, and that is definitely going to hinder the rest of his race. And, you know, he could have kept it in that 2nd lane on the bottom. See, right here, he gets loose, tries to catch it, catches it. There's the spin. Could have kept it in that 2nd lane right there, rolls backwards. There's the net code with a couple of drivers, and boom! 14 just nails him in the left rear, and I honestly think that's going to take him out of winning contention for tonight.
One more look at it. And this slow-mo is going to be a little bit interesting to watch as cars come flying into the frame. Of course, Powell goes for the spin, and I want to do this to see who those cars were that had to squeeze by. So Powell spun. He's going to back up on the racetrack a little bit, didn't hold the brake, let the car come up the racetrack. And okay, so a red number 12, so that was definitely John Evans and one other car along with him. And I think that might have been, well, Przybylski had a spin all on his own. Was that Angel Ortega, the other car that got into him? No, maybe Dylan Sanchez. But those couple of cars, really unfortunate, They had nowhere to go.
It was definitely Dylan Sanchez, and then it was also the 17 of Tim Sturm. He was able to make it through just barely. He was the first car on the screen that you saw pass by. Then, following, was Dylan Sanchez, and then it was the 14 that ended up making contact with the 10 of DJ Powell, who is actually now one lap down. He has taken that car and removed it from the racetrack, being our second driver out of the race tonight.
Howard Bentley visited the pit lane under this caution, along with John Evans, both taking quick repairs, not fast repairs, but quick, small repairs to the race car. Daniel Folds will lead us to the green flag, this time at a turn 4, 20 laps to go in round number 5 at Martinsville Speedway for the Legend cars. Down the backstretch, single file top 5, one to the inside, Kyle Meyer. Now single file all the way back through. It looks like the 7th position, Tim Sturm now as well. Single file in 8th. The first battle, Ronald Klein Jr. and Angel Ortega as one lap is complete from the restart. And now Tim Sturm falls in line. The only car outside of line is Dylan Sanchez in the 18 who clobbers the outside wall. Absolutely hellacious impact. And catches up Eric Steele. No caution as of yet. We stay green.
That is very, very interesting to see. We have one car smack the wall, and now they seem to be all single filed out the rest of the way through the field. No side-by-side battles going on at the moment. Only about a tenth, almost 2/10, actually now 2/10, separate Folds and Massingale. Then it's Michael Folds, Daniel Folds leader, Blake Massingale second, Michael Folds, Matthew Boniface, and Kyle Meyer, your top 5. And they all seem to be pretty evenly spaced out. The top 2 have quite a bit of distance on the rest of the field. About 3 extra tenths from Massingale to Michael Folds. And then Boniface and Meyer are still neck and neck right there, right behind Michael Folds to try and see if they can pounce on for 3rd. And then Swanson just another half a second behind that group.
And there you see your full top 5 as well. Swanson, as you mentioned, in the 6th spot, a little further back of these 5 drivers in a line. I will say, this PBL program is doing fantastic. This has been a record season for Paine-Built Legends and EPI. A lot of wins. In fact, I think the most they've ever recorded to this point in a Legends series. They have done a fantastic job as Massingale misses 1 and 2 way up high. That opens the door for Michael Folds down underneath, and sure enough, Blake Massingale will lose that spot and slide in behind the number 6 car. That brings him back to the front bumper of Matthew Boniface. Folds now slow out of 3 and 4. I think Boniface can go for 2nd.
He absolutely could here. Once these two get back up there fighting, it is definitely going to open the door for Matthew Boniface, as Michael Folds and Blake Massingale are still fighting, but Boniface says, you know what, I'm going to go for it now. Taking a look up the inside. Almost got the door shut, but he put his nose in there, and that is going to put Massingale in the wall. Hitting the wall off of turn 4, losing 2 spots, 1 to Kyle Meyer, another 1 to Boniface, and that is going to put Michael Folds 2nd, Matthew Boniface 3rd, and Blake Massingale has dropped significantly, and with only about 12 laps to go at the line, he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to get that 2nd spot back.
Question is, now that Michael Folds is not held back by Massingale sliding back, can Folds drive away from Boniface, or can Boniface drive to and pass the number 6 car for a 2nd position? That's going to be tough. It's so easy to drive to somebody sometimes, it's much harder to drive past them. And right now, it's looking like even Boniface is having some trouble getting to that number 6 car for the 2nd position. Further back, some interesting fights. Ronald Klein Jr. and Tim Sturm. This is for 8th and 9th on the racetrack. They're a little bit farther apart now, but Sturm up the racetrack in turn number 2. Going to open the door for the Bojangles number 13 to have an opportunity here shortly. The rest of the field behind this pretty well spread out.
Absolutely, and these guys are still all just trying to figure out what they can do to be better. One thing I'd like to focus on, though, is that Michael Folds and Matthew Boniface.
Tim Sturm! The 17 car around in turn number 2. No caution. He is on the inside of the racetrack and now toes back to the pit lane. He is done for this race. Back up to the top 5. 9 laps to go.
What I was trying to build on before the spin is that Michael Folds and Matthew Boniface, the last 3 laps, have both been faster than Daniel Folds. They have been catching him ever so gradually. They've picked up about a 10th. And even Kyle Meyer is still sitting back there waiting in the wings, being able to hang on to what he has and just figuring out how he can follow these guys up to the front.
Taking a look from our fan cams here at Martinsville Speedway, one of the nice features of the Whiplash Media SimCams camera pack for Martinsville. That'd be a nice seat for the Hail Melon down in turns 3 and 4. One more lap complete. 7 laps to go here at Martinsville Speedway this evening. And of course, as we always say, these guys have races throughout the entire week. This is just one of them that they can run to earn points. But they can run in several sessions, as many as they please for the most part. Most drivers opt to only do 2, maybe 3. Sometimes they only even do 1 race if they feel like they earned enough points for their championship fight, and then they will have 4 drop weeks at the end of the season. We are covering the mid portion of their season, rounds 5 through 8. They will not be broadcast rounds 9 through 12. We'll have late model stock action for those 4 weeks at the end of the season, but this is a nice little checkpoint in with these legend cars as we have 5 laps to go, and Matthew Boniface is right on the back end of Michael Folds, this for second.
And then Kyle Meyer right behind Boniface, but they have all closed the gap to Daniel Folds, and we see a lap car up in front of them. That is Gray in the 15, but we have a caution on the racetrack.
Caution flag flies, and ladies and gentlemen, that changes everything. Riley Fiddler Hadsback in the number 8 car has seen better days. My goodness, that is a massive bit of damage for a Legends car. For the nose to just be gone, I mean, we see some crazy crashes at Summer Shootout that you don't see engines exposed like that, though. That is big.
That definitely has to be, just from looking at it, a front-end impact to the outside wall, maybe, or the inside wall. Take a look back here. Oh, that just, I called it a little bit. I did, didn't I? A little bit of an outside impact to the outside wall, and he might have gotten hooked, actually, or he just got a little too loose. Well, you see, he hits the wall off of turn 4, coming onto the front stretch, going into turn 1.
Gets loose through the center of the corner, and kapow. And you know what? That makes a lot of sense for this Legends car on a faster racetrack. If you recall back to our little Whiplash Racing League experiment with Brandon Herzing, shout out to Brandon. When we had to go to faster tracks, the car had to be loose. It had to be loose to make speed. This is an open setup series. These guys are running the cars on that ragged edge. You see that there with Riley. He was on the edge, absolutely, especially as these tires wear out. If you're not careful in the early goings of the run, that will happen. And you see the result of it there. Hadsback with no nose in that race car at a very hard impact after stepping over that edge and getting the right rear slung out there.
Absolutely. It looks like he may sit on pit road for quite a while as he tries to get that car fixed. But we now have set up a green-white checkered finish. And you have to be thinking, with Daniel Folds still leading this race, Michael Folds and Matthew Boniface directly behind him, do we see really competition for the first time all night? Daniel Folds has led this race flag to flag. This is going to be our only green-white checkered attempt. And with the track temp being 68 degrees, air temp being 65.1, really this track is the most grippiest that it is going to be pretty much all night. And I say grippiest thinking it's a word, but it probably isn't. And I think sincerely that if Daniel Folds does not get a good restart, that Matthew Boniface or Michael Folds can absolutely jump and take this win.
I think it would be more than fair to say these are the best track conditions you could possibly ask for, maybe even a little cooler than you could ask for. Let's take a look at our upcoming broadcasts here at Pit Stop TV. There's plenty of them. That's a quick preview as to what we have coming the rest of this week. Tuesday evening, tomorrow evening, July 11th, we go to North Wilkesboro Speedway with the D-Line Racing League, brought to you by Elevated Performance. 9:15 Eastern, we go racing. Zach, quickly though, you won't be with us tomorrow night. You're going racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway. When can these guys tune in to Flow Racing to see your future?
5 o'clock. That's when qualifying starts to see all the action. And then you've got B-mains to follow right after that. And then all the features will be taking place sometime around 7 o'clock. So just stay tuned. Keep an eye out on Flow Racing. But let's watch some legend racing right here at Martinsville. We got one green light checkered attempt, and these guys are getting ready to go back green.
And the good news is Zach's feature should roll well before 9:15 Eastern. Green flag is out. One green white checkered attempt, and it is green flag now. Boniface down to block. That's liable to get you sent, Matthew. That's scary at a turn one, as Blake Massengill is all over the bumper of the 95 car. Michael Folds on the back end of Daniel Folds playing nicely there, though. One lap will be complete this time from the restart. That means one lap to go at Martinsville.
They were almost 3 wide on the restart as Boniface was trying to block Maxingale, but going down into turn 1, you can see all these cars side by side. A big wiggle out of Kyle Meyer, but look at Michael Folds right there on the back bumper of Daniel. Can he get him in 3?
One car in the air in the back. That's Przbalinski into the final 2 corners, though, and Matthew Boniface sent up the racetrack. I think there was contact. Checkered flag for Daniel Folds at Martinsville Speedway.
And Matthew Boniface went from P3 all the way down to P9.
Wow, and he is not happy. Immediately parks that car in tows. There's Daniel Folds, though, your race winner this evening in week number 5. We come back, and he's got to be happy with that performance. I know it's been a struggle for that camp the last few weeks. Such great success from EPI in the shop. And I think that's going to turn things around for the Daniel Folds camp. That's going to make him a lot happier, and I'm sure help extend that 8-point points lead. It also ends up being Azim's 1-2-3, I do believe, between Daniel Folds, Michael Folds, and Blake Massengill. That's a good way for them to end things here in Ridgeway, Virginia. Let's go back, though. I'm so curious as to what just transpired in the final corner with Kyle Meyer and Matthew Boniface. This is coming to the white flag.
You can see they're all single filed out, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Kyle Meyer drops down.
Meyer got hit by the 91 into turn 1. That was Swanson, I believe. And then Massengill here into
Big
turn 3. Oh, Massengill sent Boniface.
I don't think he appreciated that block on the restart, and that might have been a little bit of retaliation for it, or just a way to get as many points as you can. Just looking right here on the restart, you can see...
Yeah, this is going all the way back.
Boniface, second in line on the bottom. Massengale right behind him. Here's the restart. Swanson falls in line. Boniface drops to the bottom to block a move from Massengale, who sits right on his bumper in the center of the corner. Can't get the run off. Still right on the back bumper. Got Kyle Meyer on the outside. Looks low. Decides not to go for it. This is coming to the white flag here, ladies and gentlemen. You see Daniel Folds, Michael Folds right up there. Massengale taking a look again to the bottom, and there's Boniface just ever so slightly.
That was fair. He shut the door. That was all right. It's Absolutely this move I don't think he didn't like.
Right here, just parks it right on his nose, and Massengale says, "You know what? I'm going. You're gone. See you later."
Yeah, Matthew Boniface maybe a bit of a block there to turn 3. Certainly had one to turn 1 a couple of laps prior. Thankfully, Kyle Meyer hung on. I know he was getting run into or moved from behind a couple of laps prior, and there was a bit of a crash in the back. Joseph Przbalinski took a moment to complete that race. Let's go back and take a look as to what happened to him here in the number 30 car. And this is a lap prior, so we'll follow this along for a lap. But this number 30, Zach, you've got some experience racing with him at Summer Shootout.
Yes, I had to race him in the B-main last week, actually, and unfortunately we didn't get to transfer in. He was able to take one of the transfer spots. But great driver. Haven't had the chance to meet him personally, though, but he's obviously been really good on track. And here you can see him, just hits the wall coming off of turn 2 and collects the 14 on the backstretch, and 17, the 18 pile in right there at the end, and just unfortunate set of circumstances right now. And I believe we have a few drivers waiting for us for interviews here, but one more look at it.
Is on board from the driver's eye perspective. or so nearly. This is about from where you mount your GoPro. So riding on board with Przybylski, wall there, and oh, wow. That'll do it.
Big hit. Unable to take away a solid amount of points with that kind of finish, but it's what happens in Legends Racing sometimes. You just end up getting caught up in a few things, and it does make it a little tricky to be able to get in there. But looking at your unofficial results tonight, Daniel Folds and Michael Folds, your top two, both the Folds, separated by just under 2/10. Massingale with the last lap pass on Boniface taking third place. Kyle Meyer, Jeremy Swanson, Ronald Clean Jr., Angel Ortega, John Evans, and Matthew Boniface and Eric Steele, your top 10 finishers tonight, all spread out quite broadly with all those last lap shenanigans. But throughout the rest of the field, though, after Eric Steele in your top 10, I do not know who finished 11th, actually. Oh, there we go. It switched over for me. William Gray, Joseph Przybylski after that last lap incident, Howard Bentley, Dylan Sanchez, your two cars that finished one lap down in the 13th and 14th position. Tim Stern, 4 laps down. Riley Fiddler Hadzenbeck, that's a little bit of a mouthful, 6 laps down. And DJ Powell and Nate Devone are your 2 drivers that unfortunately did not finish this race tonight. And honestly, Andrew, this was a pretty substantially good race, to be perfectly honest.
That it was, and we have some drivers that were able to experience it firsthand. Of course, Daniel Folds from Victory Lane this evening. First week back on Legend Car Racing, and Daniel goes right back to his winning ways. What was it like from your perspective there in car number 1, Daniel?
Yeah, we definitely had some good qualifying pace there. Started everybody up front, myself, Michael, and Blake. We had one funky start with the pace car. It was doing some weird stuff, but the car felt good. Gotta thank Michael and Blake for helping me test this week, and I think we got a piece.
I know you guys compete very fiercely between setup shots, but we here at Pit Stop TV, we love it. Even though we're here for EPI, we love seeing the competition between Zeems, RKM, EPI, everybody else. I know EPI has had a lot of success this season. How much more does that invigorate you guys to get going that much more faster and bring the fire right back like you did this evening?
I mean, we don't race a whole lot week in and week out. They say they dominate, but they got about 3 or 4 guys that run 24/7, and we still come out on Monday night and have race winning speed, and we put up a damn good fight, and I'm proud of what we got here at Zeems. Obviously myself, Blake helps me a lot. Michael and Kyle Terzak have been helping me test a lot for Martinsville, and all the hard work pays off.
Well, it certainly did this evening. Congratulations, Daniel, and hopefully we're seeing you a bit more in these next 3 weeks for EPI Short Track Mondays.
Hopefully.
Daniel Folds with the race win this evening at Martinsville Speedway. Good to see you, Daniel, and everybody else over there.
Thank you.
Daniel Folds in car number 09 with the race win. That means, Zach, that Michael Folds is ready. Car number 6 wins 2nd place this evening. Might be one of the best drives we've seen from him in his time.
What's going on, fellas?
I think Zach might have had a step away. There we go.
Nope.
Okay. Oh,
I had a little mic issue. Just didn't exactly work out in my favor there for a second. But Michael, tell us how your race went for you tonight.
Well, we had that wonky caution that we're still not really sure what happened with, but I felt pretty comfortable there for the most part during the race. That was my first race in Legends, and I don't even know how long. I usually just run the Mazdas and some modifieds or something, but felt pretty good. Felt comfortable with the car the whole race. I was satisfied running 3rd until Blake made a mistake, which I followed that up with a mistake of my own, which kind of cost him at the time, but he ended up back in 3rd, so ultimately not a bad race. That was pretty fun for my first race back in Legends in a good while.
Yes, I can see that Zeems set up shop with a 1-2-3 finish. You guys put on an absolutely incredible performance tonight. Just kind of one question that I had with how the race went for all of you guys. Obviously, we had that little issue with the start of the race that caused a single file start for the first caution, but after that, the racing seemed pretty smooth. It seemed pretty solid. Just kind of tell us how you were able to settle into your groove and keep your car specifically in a good standpoint as the race went on. Obviously, everyone was so loose, and the setup just needed to be, adjustable to fit how the race conditions were going to go. Just kind of tell us how you were able to manage how your setup turned out and how it was able to help your race.
Well, started off a little bit loose, so I just kind of let it come to me for a little while, which that was mostly during that first run. We had a good little gap because of the caution shenanigans, and then after the second caution that bunched everybody back up, it seemed to fire off really well. That was when Daniel, myself, and Blake were able to run our quickest laps. As the race went on, kind of just backed it up a little bit as the tires wore, and I feel like I might have had something for Daniel because I was running a little bit better entry line, which is causing me to get better drive off, but never had time to find out how that would have went.
Well, you made good strides tonight. You were able to take home a second place finish, and honestly, you ran a great race. You had a lot of good passes, a lot of good, just great things going for you. And one last question I do have for you. I did notice you were turning a lot faster laps than Daniel was towards the end of the race. Do you felt like you were able to save better tires than him, or do you feel like the setup that you had in your car was a little bit different from what he had, or were there just any other circumstances that were able to contribute to you being a little bit quicker there at the end?
Well, we were running the exact same setup that you can find on ZeemSetupShop.com. That is race version 1.1, because Daniel builds hands down the best legend setups, and he has been for the past couple years. I don't do any sort of tweaking to these things to make it fast. The only thing I had him at the end was he just started overdriving it a little bit on entry, and we ended up having about the same tire wear at the end.
Well, you drove a great race tonight. You brought it home P2, and hopefully should be able to help you in the point standings a little bit more, and we really do look forward to seeing you next week at Southern National.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys putting it on.
Absolutely. Michael Folds, your second place finisher tonight, and Andrew, we have Blake Massengale on the phone waiting for you.
And Blake Massengale had to do it through a couple of bumps those last couple of laps. First of all, Blake, what happened from your perspective there when the green-white checkered flew?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at my situation. I was running second, just probably as fast as Dan, knowing that I had the speed. Now I'm sitting fifth with only 3 laps to try and make anything happen. So on the start, it's a pretty decent start for me. I tried looking to the bottom, make it 3, and he, of course, threw the block. I expected that. And then after that, I was able to just get past Kyle from being on the bottom. And then, I mean, I wouldn't say I was trying to full-on wreck him. I mean, I definitely was trying to move him. But, I mean, you got to expect that at these types of tracks when it's, you got to really get on the brake in the center.
Well, hey, that kind of racing is just about welcomed in these cars with their big bumper bars on front and rear. And Zach, I'm sure, is no stranger to it on Tuesday evenings at Summer Shootout. But do you think that's going to change anything as to how you guys might race each other next week? Are you expecting a bump back at any point?
I mean, if he holds the grudge against me, I mean, I could fully understand it. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like that type of racing. I personally felt like it was what I needed to do to make the pass, and if he wants to pay the favor back to me, I mean, I can understand that. So,
hey, the friendly competition is what we eat up here at Pit Stop TV. It's fun watching these legend cars. And honestly, we're just glad to be back here in these Legends races on Monday evenings. How has the season gone from your guys' point of view? Of course, we weren't here for season 2 for you guys. We saw you and Daniel do a fantastic job back in 2023 season 1. Now we're back here in season 3. How have things gone from your perspective? How are things going currently?
As a team, I would say we've left off just where we started back in 2023. But for me, I started off a little rocky this season, but I'm trying to make a little bit of a comeback here in the middle part. So a good P3 finish for me, and then 1 and 2 for the fellow teammates is also really good for us. So we're continuing our winning ways.
Well, hey, keep it up, Blake, and you know, we'll always still say EPI. You guys say Zeems. It's fun. It's competition. We love you guys, and hopefully we see you next week at where are we even going? I had it in my brain next week. Five Flags, Southern National. There we go. I know Five Flags on the list too for us. Hopefully we see you next week at Southern National.
You will. Thank you.
Blake Massengill from car number 10 this evening, 3rd place. And that is one thing I want to stress. I know, you know, I shout out each different setup shop that I see on these cars because there's so much effort that goes into these setups, and especially when we go legend racing with you guys. I recognize the fact that you Legends drivers are the most interactive bunch of any of the short track series that we've covered so far. Usually it'll be a driver or two that EPI knows is in the race, whatever, that might come and talk to us. But this Legends group is the only time we've had competing setup shop drivers join us for an interview, and we really do appreciate that, genuinely, at Pit Stop TV. So the activation from you drivers is so appreciated. We like to have fun with you guys. It's all lighthearted. I just want to make sure that's known because sometimes it can get a little bit controversial on the racetrack, and we love it. We love it. It's competition. It's a lot of fun, Zach, and it feeds into this whole series, especially these racetracks we have this season. They opened things up way back at North Wilkesboro on June 12th, which, first of all, North Wilkesboro Legend Cars, that is a hairy combination, but then Langley for round 2, beating and banging was sure to happen there. Stafford, same kind of combination we have here at Martinsville. Long straightaways, tight corners, easy to bump into one another. Charlotte Motor Speedway, of course, we'll leave that one there. Martinsville, as we saw this evening, we saw some bump and runs. We saw the bumper used. We'll see the same thing next week at Southern National Motorsports Park.
Definitely, and Five Flags and Hickory, 2 great tracks moving forward after that. That's going to be the 2 tracks that we at Pit Stop TV are going to be covering the rest of the season. Myrtle Beach, Lakeland, Lanier, and South Boston we will not be covering. But Southern National, Five Flags, Hickory, 3 great tracks that is going to be amazing to cover on, because Southern National is one track that Legend Cars favor quite heavily for even things like the Thanksgiving Classic, which is a big late model stock car race. They have a Legends feature
which Joel Smith won.
He did. They have, it's... how many laps is it? I believe it's like 35 laps, which is pretty big for Legend Cars. And Southern National is just one of those tracks where it's not like Charlotte where it's completely flat and you got to brake a lot. You can roll out of the throttle, flat foot it, get that car rolling off the corner exit. I hope to be running a couple of races at Southern National this year, actually. Five Flags and Hickory, also 2 great tracks. I'd love to run Hickory myself, but it's nice to be able to see it on the sim here and see how these Legend Cars act at Hickory compared to how they act in real life. Obviously, the Legend car doesn't exactly drive the same as it does in real life, but it's nice to see that they still act like they should when it comes to the sim.
It was good to see a successful bump and run, I will say. I know it sucks for Matthew Boniface to go from racing for 2nd and 3rd to racing for 9th on the last lap, but it was good to see a successful bump and run nonetheless. And I do want to highlight one thing that Tyler Payne actually just sent me. He's thankful for the others, and that is, I think, a really good way to look at things from his perspective. He's thankful for the others because without Zeems, EPI doesn't have a reason to push as much. And I don't mean it necessarily as there are other shops that push them, but I think Zeems pushes them probably the most, and we see that obviously. Daniel Folds, Michael Folds, Blake Massengill taking advantage of this opportunity without Dustin Monberquette in the field, without Tyler Payne in the field for this particular SOF split. They rise to the occasion, they go get it done, they get the win, they get a haul of points, they're on to the next week. And now EPI gets to push that much more for Southern National next week, and they're going to keep doing it. And Zeems is going to keep pushing to beat EPI, and RKM is going to keep pushing to try and beat both of them. I know I'm stumbling over words at this point. It's been a long 4 or 5 days, but it really is cool to see these setup shops battle. Of course, we're here with EPI. We love EPI, but we love the competition between all of you setup shops and drivers. It's fun, and that's the biggest thing. The reason why we wanted to come back for some Legends races this season. It's fun to have you guys here. Let's take one more look at our upcoming broadcasts and shut this thing down for the evening. Tomorrow night, North Wilkesboro Speedway for the D-Line Racing League presented by Elevated Performance. I told you, stumbling over words. But Friday evening, Look at that. We're going to Charlotte Motor Speedway, but with some Ford Mustangs. The Barber Ford Mustang Club debuts on Pit Stop TV this Friday evening, July 14th, from Charlotte Motor Speedway on the Roval. A bunch of Mustangs around that place. I believe it's a 45-minute race, maybe an hour race, something like that. A very simple race format. It's just going to be a lot of fun. Mustangs on the Roval in a spec kind of format. Really looking forward to it. And a $500 voucher to Barber Ford included for all drivers who sign up to run this series for free, might I add. So that is super cool that these guys are throwing in from Barber Ford. You can check them out at barberford.net. Sunday evening, we go to Watkins Glen International for the Noble Can-Am Series for round number 4 for that series. They went to Montreal last night, on to Watkins Glen this weekend. Again, going to be a lot of fun. Late model stock cars on a road course with super late models. Multi-class racing with oval cars on a road course. But a lot of fun this season to watch those guys get after it. And Zach, there's plenty of places to keep up with the channel down below.
Absolutely. Facebook.com/PitStopTV, Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV, Twitter.com/PitStopTV_. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I know you were talking about it a few weeks ago. I do believe one of the only platforms we're not streaming on at the moment is Twitch.
We're waiting to see if that comes back to us. Right now we can't, per Twitch terms of services, but it's a possibility. I've actually elected to keep it on there just in case, because we are still on Twitch technically, but we do not broadcast to Twitch. Waiting to see if they come back to us and reverse that decision. Hopefully that is the case, but multi-streaming no longer allowed. It's a whole thing we could go into for hours, but we'll leave it there. I do want to say, in fact, if I bring this graphic back up, you see there's a gap on Wednesday and Thursday. If you are running the prelims for the Firecracker 400 put on by eraser.gg, I'll see you there. I don't race very often, but I am pumped to be entering this event thanks to Firelight Esports and my boys over there, Josh Styles and everybody else. IMB Raceware allowing us to go racing this week. I don't get to go racing very much. I'm really excited. 87s at NASCAR, well, of course NASCAR 87s at Daytona 08. There we go. The bumpy Daytona, the fun Daytona, if you will, the low grip Daytona. With those 87 cars. I'm just excited, Zach. I don't get to race very much these days. It's got me already hyped, and the entry was put in maybe 4 hours ago. So I'm looking forward to it here this week, and hopefully I see some of you guys out in the field this week. But that'll do it for us this evening at Martinsville Speedway. We'll see you all next week as Legend Cars take to Southern National Motorsports Park in the next leg of EPI Short Track Mondays. We will see you there. Have a great night.
If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 3350 today.